The Book of Honey, by Isida Roshaz, Chapter 19, Shiver, Honey. William and I are heaving when he stops just under a ladder. This is it, honey. William climbed up the ladder and tapped on the manhole cover. Someone moved it and William disappeared into the underside of a box truck. He reached his hand down and pulls me and we are face to face. I know he is completely pissed at me. Usually, I wouldn't give two shits to anyone about my decisions. I make decisions that could mean my life. So, I made it very clear to both Uncle Bruce and William before this that I need none of their approval or permission to make my choices. Here I was letting this get to me. William says to me in a very businesslike voice, "Let me introduce you to Wood and Brom." Wood was a short redhead with a goatee and studs. Brom is a tall pale man that had a dark quiet to him. I nod to each of them as they greeted me. "Hello, Missy," said Wood. "Nice to meet you, miss. Is everything all right? You're a bit late, William," said the darker, quieter man Brom. William says, "Got a bit turned around, but it's all right." Brom nods to William. He didn't seem to have a lot to say. Was always watching and waiting. Wood, on the other hand, was always chatting. William tells me they are going to be making the stops. We've been disguised as a newspaper delivery. Then Wood says, "Yep, you two just go to the back. We stashed your car a few hours away. We'll let you out." "Thank you, gents. Keep your eyes on traffic and make sure we are not being followed." William walks to the back of the truck. I follow just behind him as both guys, Brom and Wood, are staring at me. But I am in head-down cover mode. All they could see of me is my lower face. William slides open a door. It's a small space with a bench on each side. I get in and he closes the door. There we were face to face. I sit down and so does he. We drive quietly, but I could almost feel William's mind wheels turning. I did not like people filtering what they mean. It means I don't have to misunderstand them when they say it straight up. So, I tell William, "William, if you have something to say, say it. I know that you're pissed." William says it quietly so that the two guys didn't hear us. "Yeah, well, that's an understatement." A very wanted troll of a man walks out of the dark. "You tell me that you've called him up to have a conversation. In the middle of an operation where I am in charge of all the things that could have gone wrong. You neglected to tell me something important." All I say is, "William, this was about my kids." He takes a deep breath. "Yeah, I overheard that bit. You are my only concern right now." I say to William, "I know I'm the only one that cares about them, William. That's not accusing, okay? I looked out for them and now they have no one. I know I'm lucky to have saved as many as I did." I raise the stone wall and close my mouth. Brought up my face of nothing, I used it to look at the world and give nothing more than what is necessary away. Once I had my calm center, I said to William calmly, "I had to leave them behind. I can't help them anymore. I have hope that between Uncle Bruce and Manfred they may just make it out. I do not apologize for this." William looks at me in his silence for a moment. When he says to me, I know you are used to playing with your cards close. I thought he was there to kill you. I said nothing to William. So, he says to me, I didn't know, you didn't consider me enough to tell me even as we entered the tunnel. I am supposed to account for all the what-ifs. It could have gone bad for both of us. How could I ever have answered Bruce back? I thought about what he was saying, but I kept my thoughts to myself. He didn't yell, but I wish he would. That would make this dealable for me. Each calm, collected word was like a fork in my gut twisting. I did not like this feeling that hit me. Heat hit my stomach. The urge to lash out violently was there, but instead, I make a small pointed jab. When you're dead, you don't answer to anyone. But he huffs at me. I didn't like that sound one bit. Yes, I'm well aware of that fact, honey. That doesn't mean nobody will feel it when you're gone. If I had survived and you didn't, I would never be able to face back or myself ever. I lower my eyes to look at my hands and nod. There was nothing else I could say. He didn't understand, and I didn't want to explain myself to death. I made a decision and now I'm living with it. He didn't like it, and that is all there is to it. I also know that he will tell Uncle Bruce. But he is gone, so there's not a damn thing he can do to me here. The last sound William made while we drove was taking a deep breath and sighing. I bent my head and pulled my hood down so he couldn't see my eyes. Crossed my arms and had no more to say. I stayed like this for hours till we stopped, and William gets up and has to leave to follow us. Watching him walk away made my stomach fall all over again. There was nothing I could do. At some point, I would have to make it up to him. The light outside turned to sunset. I was tired, so I dozed off lightly.
We had been stopping and going all morning, mimicking a newspaper delivery truck. Stopping at newsstands, coffee houses, and petrol stations. We delivered stacks of papers and magazines to businesses along the way. Honey threw up all the walls she owned, refusing to let them down the whole ride. So, I sat in our silence going over everything that I could in my head. The only time I saw Honey move was to shift which knee she had crossed. Silence was a weapon to Honey. She knew how to use it well. I would check in with Brom and Wood, switching places with them to make deliveries as they switched out driving. We made our last delivery as the sun was starting to go down. After we had been on the road for hours, Brom and Wood had driven to the edge of London, while Wood and Brom filled up the truck. Stopping in the town of Sevenoaks. Parked at a Londis petrol station, I got out and walked to my car. I crossed the street to a mini-market to buy all the groceries we'd need for a month. I was still quite angry early into the drive. Switching places with Wood and Brom to make deliveries while keeping our eyes open for anything that stuck out to us was a good distraction for me. Now I am alone with my thoughts, grabbing groceries and cleaning supplies. When I have something to focus on, I'm fine. Once my brain decided to fall into a rabbit hole of thoughts, I can't seem to make it stop. I know I shouldn't be letting this get to me. I should have my head up and looking around, paying close attention. I couldn't stop playing the scene in my head, all the things that could have gone wrong. I bought 2 trolleys worth of stuff, then bagged it and brought it to my car. I was jolted when Brom came by to help me pack all the stuff into the back of my car. Brom says, "Easy William, it's me. I see you've bought the whole market and thought I'd come and give you a hand." I say, Sorry, that would be greatly appreciated. I wouldn't dare sigh in front of Brom. The man has eyes like telescopes and sees just about everything. More than once he's cornered me about things I would rather not talk about. At the same time, I wouldn't be standing here right now if he hadn't taken a liking to me. This was not one of those moments I wanted him to look at me too closely. I had no clue what to do with this. We had filled my trunk and back seats when Brom says to me, "William, do you know what they say about agitation?" I sigh despite myself knowing Brom had caught me in the middle of a mood. I asked him, "No, Brom, what do they say about agitation?" He tells me that it is a true sign of life. Dead things don't give a shit. I give him an odd look. Brom goes on to say, "Do you know when Wood was first brought in you tried to take his attitude like you were cold stone?" I said nothing. I knew he would never get to the point if I didn't let him continue. I just nod. When Brom continues, "He used to say that you were like a cold dead fish on the inside, and he would make you snap and leave before the end of his first month." I couldn't help but say, "Yeah, and he still makes bets about when I might leave. People keep taking his money knowing he was a sure thing at this point." Brom laughs and speaks. I told him that he doesn't know what he was talking about. That you were more like a storm than a dead fish. I wanted to get going, but I knew he wouldn't let me till he got his point across. We were on time and all things seemed to be good. "Why do you say that?" Brom tells me. "A storm may seem dark and cold, but it can be agitated to life. Once a pent-up storm hits its breaking point, it is never a subtle thing, William. Now Wood knows not to go poking you when your clouds are up." I asked. "That is fairly true. So, what are you trying to say, Brom?" Brom tells me, "William, you're starting to billow around the edges. I can see the start of a good rain coming if you don't get a hold of yourself. Something happened to you before you both came up." I knew I could outright tell him, but I answered, "Yes." He asked, "Is it something that we need to be concerned about?" I told him, "Not at the moment." Brom tells me, "Then my suggestion to you is while we are on the road, call Agent Beck and give him an update on our progress." Then suddenly, I stopped being angry and knew Brom was right. So, the clearness returned to my head, and I shook out of it and say to Brom, "That is a good idea, thank you, Brom." Brom knew that I thought very highly of Beck's friendship. That this wouldn't be the first time I've turned to him when I'm at a loss for what to do. I get in my car and wait for Brom to cross back over to the other street to take off in the truck with Wood. They turned and a few minutes later I was following the truck. When all was clear I called Beck. It rings once and Beck picks up. "Agent Bruce Beck speaking. William, how are things going?" I told him. "We are about 30 minutes away. We just stopped in Seven Oaks to refuel and get supplies. On our way and everything is as clear as it gets here." I don't know why I hesitated to tell him about Manford Cross. It was almost like I was telling on her. I also know that if I keep this from Beck, I will be in far more trouble than telling on Honey. I let out a deep sigh, knowing Beck will catch it without me saying a word. "William." "Yes, sir, why does it sound like you're sulking?" "That is because I am." "What happened?" I tell him about Cross and Honey in the tunnels. He was quiet, then he says, "Well, damn." He sounded surprised. So I say, "What?" I didn't see that angle coming at all. There was another silence when he says, "But now today's information drop makes sense." I was a bit annoyed at his lack of concern. So, I ask him, "What should I do about this, Beck?" Beck gave me another long pause, then he laughed at me for a moment. He says in a condescending way that he often did when I would ask a stupid question, "William, there is no punishment that you can give her that could be any worse than anything she has already been through." Being both surprised and truly mad at his tone, and I let go in a very snarky way. I knew I shouldn't have, but I did. "I don't want to punish her, Beck. You make it sound like she shouldn't be reprimanded at all though. If she were one of my officers or one of your agents, we would both have words to say to her." That is when Beck reminds me, "William, you didn't hear me the first time when I told you these are not normal circumstances. Honey does not care about your sense of pride or your justification of things. What you and I would do to her if she was one of our people does not apply to her. She is neither a civilian nor a soldier. Believe me, William, when the two of us started working together, I thought I'd do it the way I always did with a recruit. The more I pushed and pulled to mold, she just shook it off. Refused to respond to me the more I tried to hold over her. I say out loud some of the thoughts that I've been thinking since the first time I saw Beck handling Honey. I did notice that you are a bit soft-handed with her. Beck tells me, "Yeah, well, 6 months into our project I thought I'd lost her, William. You've seen me when I've tore into someone. I speak." "Yes, first-hand, sir," Beck sighs and speaks. "I told her to quit, William." I ask him, surprised, "Did you?" I was surprised at his confession of almost losing an asset. Beck continued, "Told her to pick up and get out while she still had her life to hold on to." I didn't know what to say to that. I've never heard Bruce Beck confess that he tried to quit anything. About 6 months of her inside of sex dens with land sharks, I about lost it, William. I've seen all kinds of horror. I thought I could handle it all. This was too much for me. I am very glad you took over the communication side of Honey's job. I truly don't know how much more I could have handled. I say out loud what I've been thinking since I met Honey. About the way Beck has changed. "I've never seen you roll over for someone like that, sir," Beck explained. That was something she allowed me to discover. At 60 I didn't know I had so much left to learn about myself. For her, I stopped questioning her motives, and demanding she does it my way. I let out a sigh at this confession about Bruce Beck. It was a bit overwhelming to think that someone I thought was nothing but a pile of bricks. Learning he's just human and that he caves in for someone. Learning a new way to do something he was so damn good at already. So, I ask Beck, "So, how do you think I should handle this?" Beck tells me, "I guess I could tell you a bit of what I've learned. Maybe you won't be flopping around in the dark by yourself with Honey. You are allowed to feel the way you do. Don't heap all the blame for your reactions on Honey. She firmly believes she is responsible for all the actions she takes. That others are equally responsible for their own. She will be the first one to admit she's done wrong. She won't use words, so keep your eyes out. She will make a gesture of peace that is both meaningful and thoughtful. She doesn't want to be complimented, but she likes it when you praise something she's done well." Beck tells me, "William, if you get the opportunity to tell her how you feel, be straight and forward. Honey truly seeks to understand people on a level that is below the surface. She already sees past the bullshit we all hide behind. She has surprised me more than once with just how much she cares about things. Don't think she doesn't consider your feelings just because she doesn't react or brushes them off. She puts thought into every action she takes. That is why she is damn good at what she does." I told him, "God's damn, Beck, that is a lot to unpack." I feel like you're going to ask me for a kidney because you never give it that easily. He agrees and says, "What can I say, William? I'm rooting for you. So, keep going and pay attention." I tell him. That sounds a lot like a compliment. Then he brings me back by saying, "You are just hearing what you want, William. I know you're going to be setting things up for a while. I want a full report before you go to sleep tonight. Send it to me on my private line." I told him. "Of course, sir," he says. "I can't wait to hear from you, William." I hung up for the rest of the drive, paying close attention to the drive that was so familiar. This was the first time I'd been back since my grand's death, and I had cleaned out the house. I was still a bit put out at what Honey had done, but Beck's words had taken the fire from the sting. Now I hope to let it go and get on with what I had to deal with. I follow the truck up to the crescent drive that leads right to the front door, parking just behind the truck. I step out of my car when Brom and would go ahead and check the place out before I'd let Honey out.
Honey, as time went on the road was bumpy. Finally, we stop on what must have been a gravel road. I am left to sit in the back of the truck for several long minutes, then I hear from Wood. "Missy, we've made it all clear, the boss is outside." I had heard the two of them talking while they both commented about William being in a pissy mood. They both talked a lot of bullshit. Most of it meant nothing to me, but once in a while the two of them would talk about work, dates, and family, and I would have to keep my ears open. I grabbed the bag I had on me. Leaving the truck was nice, I could stretch my legs. I jump off the back end. William was parked just behind us. Looking up, we are outside of a gray stone house that is huge. There are no neighbors for miles. There is faint light from a long way off. I hear the night sounds of bugs, birds, and other animals rooting around in the distance. William walked up to me. "I have some supplies in the back, help me bring them in." I say. "All right." I shrugged, at least he was still talking to me. Walking to the back of his car, he opens the trunk. I stand there stunned because underneath all the supplies was something familiar. The duffel bag I named Stella covered my mouth and turned because of all the things I was expecting. This was not one. I say quietly, "You brought me, Stella." At my excited remark, William laughed and said, "Your bag's name is Stella?" I said, "Yes." I decided this gesture of thoughtfulness needed rewarding. Stopping, putting all my stuff down, I flung myself around William's neck. Both Wood and Brom saw this. I didn't care. This was the first step to making things up. I figured that I had to thank him somehow, and this was the only thing I could think of at the moment. Sometimes words are not enough, and I usually don't have enough of them. Actions are always better than words to me. He just about fell over from shock. "Thank you, William. I was sure I would never see her again. You don't know how much this means to me." I hear another sigh escape him. This time it didn't sound as frustrating, so I figured this was progress. He says to me, "You're welcome. I knew you wanted it, so I grabbed it a couple of days ago. Stowing it at my place till yesterday." I turned to pick up my stuff, Stella, and as many things as my arms could carry. I followed William into the house. I dropped my bags at the front door. The front door leads to an entryway. There are grand stairs leading to the upper floors. I see a small laundry room down the hall to the right. There is a closet door to the left and a downstairs bathroom. Flipping on lights as we go, I see a living room the size of 3 normal family apartments. We head straight to the kitchen. Putting the supplies down, we start unpacking. In no time everything is put away. The house was old, but most of the stuff was relatively new. Most of the appliances were 20 years or less. Well maintained but a little dated. There are 10 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms. There was a library, study, open kitchen, laundry room, master bedroom, attic, and basement. The closets and storage were huge. The grounds were large, and William said he would take me to walk them tomorrow. All the pantry stuff was put away. William says to me, "You can pick any of the rooms upstairs but the master bedroom." I ask him, "Why?" He tells me, "It has always been my room." I say, "You own this place?" William says, "Yes, my grandparents left it to me. It's been a home for my family for generations. I am the last on this side of the family. I think you will like the 3rd floor room on the west side. It has a lot of built-in shelves and a walkout balcony, plenty of space in the closet as well. Wood and Brom will be staying here off and on. We will be setting up a home office here. I am now doing my work remotely. There will be days that I can't be here. So, if you need anything at all, tell one of them or call me, and if they give you any problems, I can take care of them for you." I don't know why I like hearing William sound like he was in charge. He even said earlier that being around Uncle Bruce turned him into a lackey. Hearing him say he'd take care of things was fun. There was an odd bit of humor I didn't get at that last comment. William says to me, "So, I'll be here most of the time. When I'm gone, one of the guys will be here. So, call and don't hesitate to tell them if something is going wrong. There is a woman that will be coming twice a month to clean everything but our bedrooms. If you have any questions, come and ask me." I'm about to hit the sack. I say, "All right." I headed upstairs to the 3rd floor. I stop in the bathroom across the hall from the room William pointed out to me, to put things in the cabinet. I take a shower and then go to the room across the hall. The walls were a gray color. It was dark even with the lights on. I was going to have to bring some color into this place. The room was dusty, so I opened the balcony doors. For a minute I sat there in an armchair looking at the stars in the sky come out one at a time. I saw lights come on down below my room. That must be William's room. It was nice to know in case I needed to run. The night was warm, and I was getting tired. I close all the doors and windows, making sure to lock them all. I changed into a pair of shorts and a tank top. I lay there, but every time I heard a new sound, I wondered where it was coming from. My heart would start racing every time. So, after a few hours of this, I get up. Grabbing a cover and a pillow, I headed to the 2nd floor. I knock lightly on the door. I hear footsteps when someone opens the door. Out comes William, a surprised look on his face. "Honey, is everything all right?" I told him, "I can't sleep. This place is too new to me and all the sounds are making me jumpy." Is it all right if I sleep on your couch? I won't bother you. He about tells me. You can have my bed if. I cut him off by saying. Nope, I will sleep on the couch. William just shrugs. All right, I'm working so I'll be up late. I nod. That's not a problem, being near someone I know will put me at ease. William lets me in. I set myself up on the couch. He went back to sitting at his desk, his light was on, and he was typing away. I had my back to him as he worked. I still couldn't sleep because things were weighing on me. It took me a minute to muster up the courage to say something because I was feeling childish and wanted reassurance. If I said nothing, I would never know. That thought was even worse than letting me feel weak. I asked him. William. It took him a minute to hear me when he says. Yes, do you need something? I asked him. No, I just wanted to know if you are still mad at me. He stopped typing and let out a big sigh. It's something I've come to notice he does a lot. He tells me. No, I'm not. I'm a bit hurt but not mad. Why do you ask? It was my turn to sigh. When you walked away after I couldn't find a way to make peace with you, it felt bad. This feeling was hanging between us. I felt it after we got here. When you talked to me, it felt like you were trying to muffle yourself instead of saying what you wanted to. William tells me. What you're probably feeling is guilt. When I am angry at someone, I often disappear or shut down, keeping to myself. It's a bad habit of mine. It keeps me from blowing at people. I don't like to show people my temper. I sat up to look at him. I ask honestly. What about now? Do you feel like disappearing? He says. No, I don't. I asked. Why? This time he looked up from his screen at me. There are a few reasons. Right now I'm trying to be objective. Not letting my feelings get in the way. Today was about me doing my job. Right now it's about keeping you safe, and if anything would have gone wrong, nothing you would have said would have done any good. It would have been my fault. I was not prepared enough, made worse by you purposely holding out on me. We just sat there staring at each other. At least that feeling was no longer hanging in the air. Then I asked. Is being objective all there is to it? His face smirked. It almost pisses me off enough to get up and smack him, but I didn't. He asked me. Are you asking if my job was the only thing on my mind? I say. Maybe. William tells me. No, protecting you is as important to me both personally and professionally. I don't know what happened. I had never felt this way. The best way to describe it was a lightning bolt to my brain. This surge at the back of my brain exploded down my spine, delivering a wave of chills that rippled over my skin. It was so violent that William saw it. He asked me, "Are you cold?" I say, "No, just a random cold chill." That's not what it was. I wasn't giving up what I didn't understand myself. All I know is that I liked that feeling. What made it happen was William. Laying down, I turned my back to William and covered myself. Thinking about that feeling. Just before that, I said. I'm not going to make a promise I can't keep. I will try not to do it too often. I think that will be all right. Good night, honey. Good night, William. I drifted off to the sound of him typing into the night.